Imagine this. You stand at the edge of a vast, dark forest. The trees stretch endlessly, whispering secrets of the unseen, as though they have witnessed centuries of untold stories. You know something is hidden there, something powerful, magnetic, yet elusive. You sense it calling to you, yet you hesitate. It is both a place of danger and of potential. You know this. The deeper you go, the more you will discover about yourself. This is the territory of the emotionally unavailable feminine. It is the land of mystery, a place where the unspoken reigns, where every glance and every silence can have 1,000 meanings. But behind this mystery lies a force more potent than any force in the world, a force that, if understood and unlocked, could give a woman the power to transcend all that binds her to the world of the mundane and the needy. There is something paradoxical here. The emotionally unavailable woman is not detached by choice, nor is she indifferent. She wears her armor not to shield herself from love, but from something deeper, something darker within her. This is the place where Jung's shadow lies, where the denied parts of her psyche slumber. These parts are not weak or fragile, they are fierce, primal, and profoundly wise. At first glance, the emotionally unavailable feminine may seem like a fortress, untouchable, impenetrable. But within her lies an inner conflict, a struggle between the conscious world that demands vulnerability and the unconscious that whispers caution, even fear. And in the shadows of this battle lies the first secret. The emotionally unavailable feminine is the woman in transition. She is not yet fully herself, not yet whole. She is still in the process of individuation. She is carving herself out of the endless layers of expectations that the world places upon her. To the outside world, she may appear indifferent, aloof, or detached. But beneath that cold exterior, there is a woman who is breaking free from the chains of societal conditioning, seeking to find the parts of her that have been lost, hidden, or repressed. This process, however, is not easy. To separate herself from the expectations of others, to sever the ties of codependency and dependency, is an act of profound courage. She is not afraid of being alone, for she knows that in her solitude, she is learning to reconcile the fragmented parts of herself. She is learning to listen to the whispers of her soul, to embrace the wisdom of her shadows, and to integrate the parts of her psyche that have been ignored. But there is a danger here. For many, the path of individuation is misunderstood. In her journey, the emotionally unavailable woman may become too consumed by her own need for independence. She may become so self-sufficient that she rejects the very possibility of connection with others. This is the second secret. The emotionally unavailable feminine fears surrender. Surrender. It is a word that stirs something deep within her, a primal, almost visceral reaction. For deep within her psyche lies the archetype of the warrior woman, the one who has fought long and hard to survive. She has endured battles, both external and internal, and to her, surrender seems like weakness, like giving up her hard-earned sovereignty. To trust another, to open herself to vulnerability, feels like risking the only thing that has kept her safe, her autonomy. But what she doesn't know is this: her fear of surrender is a projection of the wounded masculine within her. It is the internalized belief that power only comes from control, from keeping her heart under lock and key. And yet, this control is not true power. True power lies in the ability to open up, to trust, to be vulnerable, not as a sign of weakness, but as an act of profound strength. The emotionally unavailable woman, like all of us, must confront this fear of surrender. She must realize that the greatest act of courage is not in holding herself back, but in releasing the grip on her heart and allowing it to beat freely. But she cannot do this alone. She must first face the wounded masculine within herself, the part that has been taught to fight, to dominate, and to withhold. Once she faces it, she can integrate the feminine wisdom of surrender. The wisdom that teaches her that in letting go, she will not fall apart, but rather will blossom into her fullest self. The third secret of the emotionally unavailable feminine is perhaps the most elusive. She is the keeper of profound wisdom. She may appear cold, distant, or even harsh at times. But beneath this exterior lies a deep well of insight, a treasure trove of ancient knowledge. She knows, on a soul-deep level, that the world does not revolve around the fleeting emotions of the moment. She understands the cyclical nature of life, the ebb and flow of energy, the interplay between light and shadow. She is in touch with the rhythms of nature, the rhythms of her own body, and the deeper forces that govern the world. But her wisdom is not meant to be flaunted. It is a quiet knowing, a stillness that speaks louder than words. The emotionally unavailable woman does not need to shout or prove her worth. Her power lies in her ability to observe, to understand, and to transform. She does not need to chase after validation or approval from others because she knows, on a cellular level, that her worth is inherent. It is a part of her essence. And yet, her wisdom is often misunderstood. The world tends to value the loud and the overt, the visible and the obvious. But the emotionally unavailable woman is not meant to be understood in conventional terms. She is an enigma, a riddle wrapped in a mystery. And it is only through the deepest layers of self-awareness and acceptance that her true power can be revealed. She knows, in her bones, that true liberation comes from within. The woman who has reconciled her shadow, faced her fear of surrender, and embraced her innate wisdom becomes unstoppable. She moves through the world with grace, with power, with an unshakable knowing that she is enough, not because of anyone's validation, but because she has found it within herself. Have you ever wondered why it feels like some women possess an almost magnetic presence, while others, despite their best efforts, seem invisible to the world? It's as if there is an invisible force field around them, one that deflects neediness, one that commands respect without uttering a single word. The secret to their allure, their emotional availability or unavailability, lies not in what is seen, but in what is hidden beneath the surface. Beneath the armor of emotional detachment, the emotionally unavailable feminine embodies a paradox. She is both fiercely independent and deeply yearning. The depths of her soul, however veiled, seek connection. Yet her fears keep her at arm's length. She exists at the intersection of desire and avoidance, at the crossroads of an inner tension that has lived with her for as long as she can remember. But this is where the beauty of her psyche lies. She knows that the path to her deepest self does not lie in external validation, nor in the pursuit of love or affection that society often tells her she must have. No. The journey she undertakes is one of profound self-discovery, one that requires a level of courage few truly understand. The emotionally unavailable feminine often resides in the realm of the archetypal maiden, that part of herself that is still exploring the world, still finding her way. And yet, this maiden is not as naive as she seems. She has observed the world's betrayals, its disappointments, its broken promises. She has witnessed the vulnerabilities of others and felt the sting of those who, with one action or another, have failed to honor her sacred trust. It is in these moments that she learns the first lesson of the emotionally unavailable feminine. To protect herself, she must withdraw. But this withdrawal is not a sign of weakness. Rather, it is a quiet act of strength, an assertion of self-preservation. In her retreat, she begins to construct her boundaries, her walls, her fortress. These defenses are not simply the result of fear or past wounds. They are an act of reclaiming power, of becoming the sovereign of her own emotional landscape. She, like the moon, must wax and wane, pull back when needed, and expand when she chooses. But here is the second secret of the emotionally unavailable feminine. She is not immune to love. It is not that she is incapable of it. It is that she is not willing to give it in the way the world expects. Her love, when it does flow, comes not from a place of need, but from a place of choice. It is the feminine power of discernment. She loves not to fill a void, but to enrich her life, to expand herself. This love is not conditional, nor is it desperate. It is deep, like the roots of an ancient tree that spreads beneath the earth, unseen yet strong, nurturing her foundation. And here, in the tension between withholding and offering, lies a profound truth. Her love, when offered, is more precious, more sacred because she is not willing to give it away freely. She holds it within, close to her heart, knowing its power. She knows that true love is not about clinging to another or submitting herself to the whims of others. No, true love is about embracing one's own essence first and then sharing that energy freely, without fear of loss. Yet, for many women, the act of holding back is still an instinctive defense mechanism, a reaction to trauma or past abandonment. The emotionally unavailable woman must recognize this pattern, this automatic response, if she is ever to move past it. She must, with great courage, challenge herself to lean into the discomfort, to sit with the rawness of her vulnerability, to open herself up to love, not from a place of fear, but from a place of inner wholeness. The emotionally unavailable feminine is a reflection of a much larger cultural and psychological dynamic. She embodies the tension between independence and dependence, autonomy and connection. The world has often taught women to fear their own power, to hide it behind layers of self-protection. But what is missed in this teaching is that true power comes from integration, from embracing both the light and the shadow within. The emotionally unavailable feminine is not fragmented, but rather, she is still in the process of becoming whole. In her quest for individuation, the emotionally unavailable feminine must face her own projections, the parts of herself that she casts onto others. In this act of projection, she often projects her unmet needs, her desires for validation, and even her fears of abandonment onto those she encounters. And so, the emotionally unavailable woman often finds herself trapped in relationships where she feels misunderstood, unseen, or unappreciated. But these projections are mirrors, reflections of her own inner conflict. To move past them, she must first understand that the people in her life are not the problem lies within her. The act of projection is rooted in the unconscious mind, in the unacknowledged parts of herself that have yet to be integrated. She must learn to turn inward, to confront the shadows of her psyche, the parts that have been ignored, dismissed, or rejected. It is through shadow work, through the conscious integration of these hidden aspects, that the emotionally unavailable feminine begins to heal. Only by accepting and embracing her full spectrum of being the light and the dark can she transcend the need for external validation. She no longer seeks to prove her worth to anyone because she has already recognized her value. The emotionally unavailable woman knows her essence, her depth, and her wisdom. And when she knows this, truly knows this, she becomes free. Her emotional detachment no longer arises from fear but from strength, from a place of self-sovereignty. She no longer needs anyone's approval to feel whole, because she has discovered that her worth was never tied to external sources. She no longer plays the game of chasing or yearning. Instead, she chooses. And that is where her power lies. Most women, at some point in their lives, have encountered the pull of this emotional paradox. The longing for connection, balanced against the fear of it. The desire to be seen, felt loved. Yet the instinct to retreat, to hide, to protect oneself from the vulnerability of being fully known. This struggle is not unique, but it is deeply personal. It is the struggle of the emotionally unavailable feminine. And in this struggle, she learns one of the most profound truths. Her deepest need is not for external love, but for self-love, self-acceptance, and self-understanding. To see the emotionally unavailable feminine is to understand that her emotional detachment is not an absence, but a presence. It is the presence of everything she has yet to discover within herself. It is the absence of fear in the face of her own power. The fear that comes from knowing that vulnerability is a double-edged sword, both a source of pain and a gateway to transcendence. Her emotional unavailability is the expression of a deep need for inner reconciliation, an invitation to dive into the depths of her psyche, to excavate all that has been buried, forgotten, or misunderstood. But the journey of this excavation is neither simple nor linear. It is not a task that can be completed in a single moment of epiphany. It is a process that unfolds over time, through layers of self-reflection, inner dialogue, and the confrontation with both her light and her shadow. For in the emotionally unavailable feminine, the shadow is not a lurking monster, but an untapped well of wisdom. It is in the dark corners of her soul that her deepest truths lie, waiting to be discovered, embraced, and integrated. There is a certain stillness that accompanies this journey, a silence that speaks louder than any words. This is the silence of the feminine who has learned to listen to the whisperings of her soul, who has learned that in stillness there is power. In the quiet moments of solitude, she does not feel lonely, for she is never truly alone. She is in communion with the deeper aspects of her being, the parts that have been buried beneath the expectations of the world, beneath the demands of others. This stillness is where the emotionally unavailable feminine begins to understand the third secret of her power. The ability to detach from external validation is not a rejection of connection, but an invitation to create a new kind of relationship. To detach is not to withdraw from the world, but to withdraw from the need for validation, from the unhealthy desire to be seen as enough in the eyes of others. The emotionally unavailable woman is not afraid of intimacy, but rather, she is afraid of losing herself in the process of becoming someone else's idea of who she should be. She has seen the damage of overextending herself, of giving away her energy to those who have not earned it, of losing her identity in relationships that demand her to be something she is not. And so, she retreats, not out of selfishness, but out of self-preservation. This withdrawal is a form of sacred detachment. It is an acknowledgement that her worth is intrinsic, that it cannot be dictated by the opinions or perceptions of others. The emotionally unavailable woman does not need the approval of others to feel validated because she has learned the most important lesson. She is enough, just as she is. Her value lies in her essence, in her authenticity, in the quiet power that emanates from her soul when she chooses to honor herself. But make no mistake, this detachment does not mean that she does not crave connection. It does not mean that she is cold or incapable of deep, profound love. Far from it. The emotionally unavailable feminine yearns for connection, but she seeks a connection that is based on mutual respect, mutual growth, and mutual understanding. She is not interested in the superficial exchanges that the world often offers, but in the deep, soulful connections that transcend the surface. She desires relationships that honor her autonomy, her individuality, and her freedom, relationships that allow her to be fully herself without fear of judgment or abandonment. The emotionally unavailable woman understands that love is not about possession, control, or dependency. It is about freedom, the freedom to be, to express, to grow, and to evolve. And when she encounters a partner who understands this, who meets her at her level of consciousness, she is capable of opening herself in ways that are both profound and transformative. This is not the love of neediness or desperation, but the love of two sovereign beings who have come together to share their journeys, to support each other's growth, and to honor each other's independence. But before she can experience this kind of love, she must first experience it within herself. The emotionally unavailable feminine must learn to honor her own needs, to recognize her worth, and to embrace the wholeness of her being. She must stop looking outside herself for validation and begin looking inward, learning to see herself as the reflection of the divine, as the embodiment of wisdom, strength, and grace. In this process, she may encounter resistance. She may face doubts, fears, and insecurities that arise from old wounds, from past relationships, or from societal conditioning. But this resistance is not an obstacle. It is part of the journey. It is the final piece of the puzzle, the last layer of the onion that she must peel away before she can fully embody her power. For once she has done this work, once she has integrated her shadow, embraced her autonomy, and cultivated self-love, she will step into a new level of consciousness, a new way of being in the world. And when she does, she will no longer chase after love. She will no longer seek approval, validation, or acceptance from anyone. She will choose. She will choose the relationships that nourish her, the experiences that elevate her, and the life that reflects her deepest truths. For the woman who knows her worth does not chase, she chooses.